Old Mutual Wildseries presents the Kruger to Canyon Challenge, brought to you by Old Mutual, in support of wildlands and the Kruger to Canyons Biosphere region. The new kid on the block was not to be taken for granted as Savannah, Mountain and Canyon combined to form the Old Mutual Kruger to Canyon Challenge. A majestic two-day trail running experience through some truly South African scenery. Hosted at La School Maripskop in Campusrus, on the border of the Limpopo and Mpumalanga provinces, there was a lot of excitement as people started to arrive. Staged over the first weekend of October, the hard-working wildland staff had less than a month between putting on the Montesources Challenge in KwaZulu-Natal and the latest addition to the Old Mutual Wildseries. The inaugural edition of the event was also their first race outside of their KZN provincial base, with funds raised going towards the Kruger to Canyons Biosphere. There was a rather luxurious 7:30 a.m. start to day one for us athletes, a 28-kilometer challenge through Blue Canyon Conservancy, which lies adjacent to the Kruger National Park. All the time you're greeted by the vast and steep rising Maripskop mountain, with your mind well aware of what's to come on day two.
Running in front of the rhinos and running after the lions. Yeah, so it sounds like it's going to be quite an interesting day. So yeah, we hope we see some wildlife because that's part of the run.
I think it's going to be an absolutely awesome experience, something that we're very privileged to take part in.
Sometimes I'm running 50 for their comrades. So if I did this one, maybe I'll get the best time for their comrade.
Something like this for me is getting out and exploring places I haven't been before, seeing the beautiful country that we have in a new way.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
The atmosphere was electric as being part of a select few of runners to tackle this course for the first time sat with each and every one of us. A nice downhill section kick-started the event as we left the school, moving away from the mountain and deeper into the low veld. The vast majority of the course followed jeep and single track on Madrid, a farm within the conservancy. While nothing steep, there was more than enough rises to keep you honest.
Well, not far from the start here of the Old Mutual Kruger to Canyon, and day one of course being into the reserve, taking it a little bit easy, and so we should. Big day running today and even bigger day tomorrow, so lots of running to come.
Road runners Samuel Makamu and Ruben Malachi were setting the early pace on an extremely well-marked route. Paying attention though always helps.
It came about because of Wildlands' involvement in this area, in the Greater Hoedspruit area, in the Kruger to Canyons Biosphere area. Kruger to Canyons Biosphere are project partner. They're an local NGO that Wildlands has grown very close to over a few years. And really Wildlands put a lot of emphasis and injection into the area this year. And wherever Wildlands goes, a Wildseries event likes to go as well. As long as it is a beautiful South African landscape, but you couldn't ask for more here where you've got the Lowveld as well as the northern tip of the Drakensberg.
The late start was in a large part to allow the animals in the reserve to hopefully finish their morning feed. There were a few nervous runners, myself included. Makamu and Malachi continued to set the pace, with Terence Inyati sitting in third. Pedro Caleron was leading the trail running challenge in fourth, with Quinton Honey biding his time.
Everyone was telling me that it's going to be very hot, and I didn't really take that too seriously because there was a fairly early start. But I must say, when I woke up this morning at 6 o'clock and the sun was pretty much up already quite a bit, it was already quite warm.
Quite hot here and quite, well, there's a bit of cloud cover now, but the heat, the humidity, you do start to feel it. You never feel unsafe. You've got some nice guys here guarding us. How's it, guys?
Racing was the adventure, the name of the game, conservation.
The Kruger to Canyon biosphere area is really one of the most spectacular areas in this country, ranging from the spectacular mountains, the escarpment, Maripskorp at the anchor of it, and then running all the way down through a series of private game reserves and ultimately ending in Kruger. The region is just spectacular. Prime tourism destination, prime conservation area.
It's a Big 4 reserve. It doesn't have buffalo because the area is a buffalo-free zone. But we run in the Blue Canyon Conservancy, which is a number of farm owners that have come together, formed a conservancy, and manage the greater area as one. They run along game viewing roads mainly, as well as a little bit of single track towards the end. And it's not as challenging as most of the Wildseries days are because it is generally flat. But the heat is going to play a huge role.
No matter where you were in the pack, the heat was being felt.
I think it was great. We waited for many years to do this, and we've always put it off at the last second because we've both got kids and families, and it's always been too far to go somewhere else. So to have a race like this so close to us in Nelspruit, 2 hours away, it was such a blessing.
The race pulled people from all over the country. The leaders enjoying an entourage as they pushed on. Honey now leading and trying to distance Makamu, Malachi paying for the early pace in 5th.
It's part of our commitment to South Africa to put back into the communities we serve. All of these events are linked to some kind of conservation effort, and it's important for us to ensure that the sustainability of our wildlife is maintained for our children and our great-grandchildren to see. For the first one in the Lowveld, we're very happy, and we can only see this event growing from strength to strength as the word gets out there. I think it's a challenge that a lot of people are going to want to put on their bucket list and complete.
Quinton Honey managing to hold off the Roadrunners to win on a not very technical day.
It was awesome, fast and flat. We went out way too hard for a race like this. But it's always difficult because some of the guys, it's their first trial race and so on, and they're good runners, but they do run out fast, and you have to judge how conservative you have to be so that they don't get too far ahead. So it's always a bit of a gamble, but it was a very fast start.
He was pushed hard with Samuel Makamu coming in a mere 15 seconds back in his trail debut.
It's my first trail. I've never run it before, so I just come to gain experience because I'm just running the road races and not the trail runs.
Good job, Pedro.
While only 3rd on the day, Pedro Calderon didn't lose much time, with his terrain yet to come.
For me, difficult because I'm more good in mountains, and this is very flat for me, and there is a lot of people that is more fast than me.
Cecilia Rath was all smiles, crossing the line to take the ladies' honours.
It was a lovely scenery in the bushveld. I tried to stay aerobic, so I tried not to push too hard. I didn't know I was in front of the girls.
Bria, well done, Elsa. Congratulations, second lady across the finish line.
Very hot, very sandy. The sand really tires you a lot. So it's just extremely hard. I never run in this heat before.
Having battled the heat, there were plenty of smiles as the runners crossed the line. It was hard to tell if it was the joy of being able to take a break from the heat, or to have been able to experience and complete what was a great start to the Kruger to Canyon race. The chill zone, well located by the finish, provided some welcome shade and refreshment, including some sumptuous venison burgers for lunch. Many athletes also took the chance to enjoy a nice cool swim, with massages proving welcome for tired legs. I finished well back in the field, but the beauty of trail running is, it's not about where you come, but crossing the finish line. There was also a really tough second day to keep in mind. Quinton Honey winning day 1 in 1 hour 53 minutes and 35 seconds, with his closest expected competitor on day 2, Pedro Calderon, giving up nearly 10 minutes. Cecilia Rath taking a near 5-minute lead into day 2 in the women's race, with less than 3 minutes separating Elsa de Beer in 2nd and Elmarie Pretorius in 4th. As a new event, Andrew Booth was able to put his climbing-loving craftsmanship into the route. A 45-kilometre monster of a challenge with 2,610 metres of climbing. The 3.5-kilometre almost vertical start was only just the beginning. Day 2 was in stark contrast to the opening day, as athletes prepared in the dark. At first light, we were off, in what was expected to be a long day, but proved to be even longer. As an inaugural race, no one was quite sure what to expect. Andrew had painstakingly put the route together and drafted a detailed race map with elevation, but even he had only done it in sections. Having spent day 1 running through a still dry reserve, as a beautiful orange sun rose on day 2, we were almost immediately greeted by lush green forest. It was a tough, challenging start, with some serious climbing to get up the mountain and over into the Blader River Canyon. The inaccessibility of it shows us how lucky we were to run on this route. At the front of the race, roadrunner Lois Ndlovu, who was 4th on day 1, was not daunted by the opening climb, dropping into an all-new indigenous forest in first. Kalaran was keeping tabs, knowing it was still a long day to come. The South African-based Spaniard followed by Malachi and Makamu, who were running together again. The Blader River Canyon is truly a sight to behold, one of many we are blessed to be able to enjoy in our diverse and wonderful country. The road runners were starting to realize what trail was all about. The race was starting to get rather technical, but still not much separated the top few runners. Quinton Honey was back in the mix as he looked to hold on to his overall lead, but with all his trail experience, he knew he had to run his own race. The steepness of many sections made it impossible for all to run the entire time.
Day 2 is straight up the escarpment. The first 3 kilometers are pure climbing, but on an ancient trail that's been quite carefully switched back into the gradient. So it's actually a very consistent gradient all the way to the top. And then once they're on the top, it's up and down all the time until they drop right down into the Blader River Canyon. Now there's races in the Grand Canyon in America, and there's a race in the Fish River Canyon in Namibia, and now there's a race in the Blader River Canyon. Hey! So they're going to climb all the way over the escarpment into the canyon. They'll actually get right down to the river, and then they've got to climb all the way back out again. So there's significant climbing involved.
Significant climbing was a significant understatement, with even the most seasoned trail runner saying Andrew had created something special, but an absolute monster that ranks up there with the toughest. Fitting in a country that is so besotted with endurance, and even more fitting, being staged in the 3rd largest canyon in the world. You sign up to a first edition knowing as such, and part of the adventure is being the first people to test the event and enjoy these absolutely incredible and remote trails. The Blader River descends the canyon. Once you exit the forest, you're onto a jeep track. After a lengthy amount of time on a really tough single track, the road may seem to be an opportunity to open up. Malachi making the most of this, his running partner Makamu and early leader Ndlovu slipping back. Climbing away from the river now, Honey was up to 4th, and importantly keeping tabs on Kalaran. Pedro not enjoying the road and literally feeling the heat. Inyati was having another good run and was enjoying Ulrich Karshagen's company on a section. Many runners were doing the race for charity and more than themselves.
Thanks for being here. We saw Kruger to Canyon and the name just really struck home with us. We've been studying down in Stellenbosch, and so we've been doing a lot of trail running there over the years, and this just seemed something really cool to do. So we looked into it and we bit the bullet and we entered. A few days later we decided, well, look, this is a big thing for us. We're going to drive all the way up here. Let's make something out of this. And I contacted a friend who was doing an internship in Wildlands, and she put us through the necessary channels. So then we started a bit of a fundraising drive through the More Than Yourself platform with Old Mutual. And yeah, since then we created a little Facebook page, Running for Rhinos, and it's just been all downhill. The support that we've got from friends and family has been awesome, and we've now raised, I think, close on 15,000 Rand. And yeah, hoping to really get that going further. The scenery we're running through, I mean, it's just, you know, when the lungs are heaving and your heart's pumping and your legs are dying, just take a moment, look around you, and at least it'll get you through the next 100 meters. And then mountains do suit us a little bit more, the hiking type thing, so it's going to be a good challenge. I mean, we haven't done all this training for nothing, and at the end of the day, this is a challenge for yourself. Very excited. Nervous excitement, good 50-50 balance.
The heat was well and truly on, adding to the difficulty.
In terms of difficulty, I think that day 2 will rate as one of the most difficult 45-kilometer courses around the country. It doesn't have extreme altitude, so perhaps that's the only part in which it's friendly, if one wanted to say that. But the gradient, the technicality, will be extremely challenging, as well as the total ascent, which exceeds 2,000 meters of climbing.
Climbing was very much the order of the day, but there was a chance to cool off.
That's about it, yeah. That's what we need. That's what we need. That's what we need.
Oh, it's amazing. Beautiful. Keeps you honest. I'm getting warm out here now. Now it's going to be the big trek out the canyon. It's going to be a tester.
Mark Gerard, experiencing the race as a Wildlands employee, was enjoying the challenge.
How was that?
So beautiful just to cool down, but now we got to straight back out.
Cool. Ever the committed CEO, Dr. Andrew Fenter, was at the picnic spot Waterpoint to greet the runners. What was to come was a 12-kilometer monster of a trek back up the dirt road. After the short cool-off, there was plenty of climbing in the second half of the race, barring the 5 kilometers to the finish.
Anyone who does a Wildseries event, we hope them to leave with almost a new look on South African landscapes and what's possible and what you can go and see and visit on foot. There's areas that the runners will move through at this event that very, very few people will move through, not only because they're physically demanding to get into those areas, but also because of the work we do leading up to the event with the landowners and to open up certain spaces for them. That happens across our events. We're always looking for incredibly special places and to expose people to natural environments that almost change their thinking. Our events in the past did have waiting lists, but recently we decided to really throw that open and allow anybody to come and partake in our challenges. We do have a limited number, but if people are really enthusiastic and really keen to do our events, they have sufficient time to go online and enter. It doesn't sell out in seconds by any means. The opportunity is there for any South African who is interested in taking on a trail. You don't even have to be a fast runner. A lot of people perceive that you need to be an ultra athlete to do this, but we have a lot of people who are just very steady. They walk large portions of the route and they just want to be out there and enjoy the environment.
While extremely tough, you never lost focus of how unique the experience was and how awe-inspiring it was to be there. The first water point after the picnic site was welcomed, but was hardly the end of the dirt road climb. While there was a little wind whipping through the canyon, only shade helped for the heat, and there was little of that on this section of the race. The whole time, though, you are flanked by the northernmost reach of the Drakensberg, and it keeps pushing you on. Caleron had recovered and had been able to distance the rest of the field on the ascent, with the climbing and heat taking its toll on all the competitors. As with day 1, Malachi dropping off, with Nglovo holding on to second. When the locals tell you the weather is hot, you know the elements have really added another dimension to your race. Wildlands does so much for conservation in South Africa, and the Wildseries presents a great opportunity to raise funds while also creating awareness. Rath was putting in another dominant performance in the Kruger to Canyons biosphere region.
These kind of events have a great opportunity for trying to reconcile the two main functions of a biosphere, the lifting up of the communities and sustainable living and the conservation of biodiversity, which is also supported by the third function of a biosphere, which is revolving very much on education and awareness creating and research.
Hydration is so key in the heat, and a water point or stream was never too far away. Not only dealing with the tough current conditions, but the body was still recovering from day one's heat. Hydration was even more paramount.
It's hard. Not many running bits. We're just trying to walk as fast as we can.
There's a lot of I know, there's a lot of words that I can use, but I can't say them on camera.
Yesterday was Little Japan. We've got to rename it. But this climb here has been brutal. Brutal, brutal. Hot, long, slow. I'm tired.
The brutal climb was taking its toll on all, but Dr. Fenter was still out there encouraging.
Take a moment, pause, and now I'm just going to encourage you all the way up because you've got 4Ks and then you're beating the beast.
This section of the course proved to be head-down time for all. Passing streams were barely noticed now, as all the efforts were focused on getting off this road. The back end of the field were really being pushed to try finish on what was still to be a long day.
If I can borrow some of your ice blocks.
It's been really hard, very hot, but absolutely beautiful. Real privilege to be here. Love these runs. Thank you.
There were constant reminders of how privileged indeed, with the bird life making their presence and what felt like encouragement known throughout the route. The last 12 kilometers of the race after the final water point were extremely tough and remote. It was almost as if Andrew Booth had carved it out of the forest like a 19th century explorer. Pedro Calderon was able to push on through this unchallenged and was not going to be caught on the final 5 kilometers down.
And on the 30, I start pushing all the uphill. And for me, I don't know, I start see the second and the first guy. And when I pass, I don't know, I don't know, something coming from inside that I start run like an animal.
The last 10 Ks was a killer, but up until that I didn't feel too bad, and I ran a pretty good race. But yeah, I don't think I've had enough mileage in my training to get me through the last 10 Ks.
Excellent effort and extremely trying conditions. Congratulations.
My performance, it was good, but it was tough there. It was not easy. I just tried by all means to force myself just to push so that I can obtain the position 3.
An undeniably tough day out for all those still coming across the line. And that was only the front end of the race. But the pain was coupled with the sense of achievement felt at completing something truly spectacular, unique, and completely new. To have been able to test your body and mind and come through a trail masterpiece. While our leading man was enjoying a well-earned rest, the leading lady seemed to stroll across the line with ease in another dominant performance from Cecilia Rath.
A lot of the hills are so steep that you can't actually run it. You have to walk, but we try to really walk very fast. And whenever it kind of plateaued down, we try to run, and then downhill, obviously, we try to make up the time.
Yeah, well, it's amazing. I didn't come here to expect anything, but yeah, I'm happy.
The atmosphere is amazing. Yeah, the vibe is just fantastic. Everyone is, the spirit of everyone is just so nice, and the organisers are superb.
A friendly face at the end of a hard race is always welcome, and to go with a unique experience, a unique trophy. Recapping the men's results from day 2, Pedro Calderon coming home in 5 hours, 31 minutes and 46 seconds. Quintanani pushing hard to hold on to his day 1 lead. A commanding 2 days from Cecilia Rath, as she was the only woman to break 8 hours on day 2 with an impressive 7 hours, 44 minutes and 24 seconds. In the men's overall results, only 2 minutes 30 seconds separated the top 2, while Samuel Mukamu managed to hold on to a top 3 spot overall. In the women's overall race, Rath putting more than 47 minutes into Elsa de Beer to be the inaugural Old Mutual Kruger to Canyon champion. I only just finished as the 2015 champions were soaking up the applause, but will be back in a heartbeat, and so should you. Old Mutual Wildseries presented the Kruger to Canyon Challenge, brought to you by Old Mutual, in support of wildlands and the Kruger to Canyon's biosphere region.